Bang. Heading into the weekend, folks. But you know what goes on 24/7? Doesn't care about the weekend? The crypto room. Much to CJ and Monty's chagrin, that room is open 24/7. That's why you'll occasionally see some big bags under one of their eyes, whoever had to pull the 24-hour shift. But all kidding aside, they do have other people that are in that room, along with thousands of traders. And that's more or less the reason we do the Daily Crypto Byte, is to let you guys know that there is a community of folks that are like-minded, looking for opportunities in crypto, and they happen to have migrated to our crypto room. And that room was started by Monty and CJ. They run it, and they have a team of traders in there as well. You have a question about a crypto, they probably have an answer, as well as, of course, what the room in total is following for the day. And you can join for just $1. That's the hard sell, $1. So with that said, Monty, I know we have a lot of news you want to get to, so let's kick it off.
Yes, John, lots of news to kick off today's episode. And it is Friday, so we're heading into the weekend, which typically means some pretty interesting volatility. And let's start with these news pieces, because they might, somewhat dictate somewhat of the sentiment heading into this weekend. So first, we'll start off with some news out of Bank of America. This broke just this morning. And the headline from CoinDesk is Bank of America approves Bitcoin futures trading for some clients. So clients are in the process of being set up, with some already live, according to one of two sources. So this is big news. Obviously, Bank of America is the second largest bank here in the US. And, like many institutions, they've been historically very conservative about their approach to crypto, but now they're opening up. They're not the first bank to do this. Goldman has the crypto arm that they recently opened up for the first time in 3 years. And they actually also started trading Bitcoin futures on the CME with Cumberland as their trading partner. But Bank of America will also be using the CME futures, according to the sources. And yeah, I think it's this. I like this headline because I think it's a good, example of where we're at in the current market cycle. These institutions, they're creeping in right now. They're setting up the infrastructure to be ready to, capture this next upside. And I don't think these institutions, they're not going to buy with the market showing such incredible weakness right now. And I think once the market starts showing strength, we'll see these institutional traders start to really step in. And that's when this is going to become more profound. But in the meantime, Bank of America is setting up futures trading. They'll be doing it on the CME. And yeah, just another instance of institutional traders showing some interest in crypto. One thing I will say that's kind of interesting is earlier this year, the CME became the largest offerer of Bitcoin futures. It previously was not in the last couple of years. There's been an incredible amount of volume on some futures exchanges like even BitMEX, which was number one for a couple of years. But now CME is number one by quite a bit. Their overall open interest is still down from earlier in this year. It's currently sitting at about 11.3 billion. On April 13th, it peaked at about 27.3 billion. So although overall open interest in the space is down, CME is now the biggest offerer of Bitcoin futures. So it seems like this interest is becoming more focused in the institutional space. So I think this is encouraging. We're always looking for these indicators that institutions are, entering the space. And I think this is a good sign. So wanted to open up with this headline, but curious to hear if you guys have any thoughts on it as well.
Well, the market really liked it, right? News was published and almost instantly like a $500 spike in price. So that was always very positive, but I totally agree with you, Monty. Very good. And just another step kind of for the institutions to have dipped their toe in the water and be ready.
Yeah.
And while we're speaking about, regulations and I guess institutions, CJ, you sent me this headline this morning. Crypto exchange Binance stops selling digital versions of stocks like Tesla and Apple as regulators circle. Binance has been under fire from just about every direction you could possibly imagine over the last couple of weeks. So it's not surprising that they're taking caution, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, CJ.
Yeah, FTX, John brought this up before the show as well, but FTX has also offered crypto stocks And we'll see how regulators respond to that exchange as well. But Binance, being the largest and having the greatest presence in the space, decided to add tokenized stocks, namely Tesla and Apple and a few others. And that has essentially violated securities regulation in certain countries, one being Germany. And so regulators are not really liking that in terms of Binance's operations. For instance, Binance does have a US branch that abides by full, regulations. So I don't think that is under any type of scrutiny, but we often talk about this, and anytime that Binance has really faced trouble before from regulators, they've just migrated into a new jurisdiction. They started in Hong Kong, I believe it was, then they were, we had a ban in China, years back, and they moved to Japan, then they moved to Malta, and they just keep kind of shifting jurisdictions. So we'll see how long they can kind of evade regulators like that. But it was interesting to balance these two pieces of news, one being positive and another being negative with Binance here.
Yeah. And it's also going to be interesting to see, guys. By the way, I suspect that Binance, which does the vast majority of its business offshore, it does have Binance US. Many of you are probably familiar with that. And I suspect that's why the government was able to go after them. You can try to reach somebody in an offshore venue, but just like CJ just detailed, that's very difficult to do because all you do is just transfer wherever your servers are. And you're probably operating in at least 3 jurisdictions anyway, because most do, so that they can cover a 24-hour day without having CJ and Monty stay up 24 hours. That way they can have 3 sets of 8-hour workers rather than people that are up forever. But I also thought, since you were talking about news of the day, guys, that a couple things that Powell said were really interesting. And one of them is central bank digital currency, or CBDC. They have been working on this, and it doesn't get a lot of press, but the Fed, has been looking at this, working on it with folks from MIT. And CJ mentioned FTX. FTX is, of course, founded by, I believe, Sam, who is an MIT grad. And I'm not saying he's working on this with the Fed, by the way. I make no such claim. But I do know that according to Senate and House testimony, because of course, Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman, was speaking to both this week. He said that the Boston Federal Reserve has been working with MIT's digital currency initiative. And they're expecting some sort of report in September. So for all the folks who want to spread the FUD about how, you can't spend digital assets, and even Powell was sort of saying that they have, I think he, in quotes, failed at becoming a currency. Not so fast. I think there's a lot that is and has already happened with digital assets and them acting as currencies. Obviously, we've got El Salvador and Paraguay just in the recent past declaring that they will let those operate as currencies in their jurisdictions. But I think there's going to be a lot more, whether we learn more in September when that Boston Fed and MIT initiative is more widely discussed, or whether it takes a little longer. In any case, the fact that the Fed is looking at this, that the Central Bank of the United States is looking at this, means that these are likely, not all of these cryptocurrencies, but some in particular of the stable coins and USDC and so forth, are likely to be real currencies going forward.
Yeah, that's a great point, John. That's a great point. And I think that this is such an interesting point in time because regulators, I think, are realizing that crypto in general is here to stay. They need to kind of pinpoint their efforts in order to, I think, have the greatest, most profound effect they can have. And I think it's becoming more clear that they're really looking at stable coins and regulating stable coins as a potential way for the US government to be involved in the future of crypto, potentially by offering their own, central bank stablecoin. I think that's something that could definitely happen in the future. And it seems like regulators are really kind of pinpointing their focus on this sector of stablecoins. And I think that's pretty interesting. So, these comments from Jerome Powell have definitely been somewhat bearish over the last couple of days, but the market hasn't really moved too much as a result of it.
Right. And Dorsey is really, Jack Dorsey, that is, folks. Love him or hate him. Jack Dorsey might muzzle a lot of people on Twitter, but he's certainly not muzzling anything in cryptocurrency. He's the opposite. He's a huge supporter. And his Square, which already is, the Cash App and so forth, is solidly in the area of expanding the reach of crypto, in particular Bitcoin and Etherium. So watch for more of that. Jack has said that his Square is going to have a primary focus, in fact, on Bitcoin going forward. So that's worthwhile noting, and I think something that we want to pay attention to, because Square is not just a flash in the pan. Square is a real hundreds of billion-dollar financial monster right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, they're not just looking, that's been one thing that I've been noticing a lot of people on Twitter kind of focusing on, is that sort of DeFi ethos. I think that's one thing that regulators are very intimidated by, is the concept of, losing complete control of the monetary policy in general, because a lot of these DeFi assets. And, I think that one thing that Jack Dorsey said on Twitter is he wants to enable an ecosystem where anyone can build on crypto and anyone can, use crypto and custody their own crypto, very much in line with what the original ethos of Bitcoin kind of was. So it's encouraging to, have a figurehead like that for crypto in Jack Dorsey, regardless of, what you might want to say about him and his dealings on Twitter. But yeah, interesting news hitting the headlines this week for sure. No doubt about that. One thing I wanted to hit on as well, one of our members in chat, one of the OGs, as you might call him, Bob Dittrich, he went in and dropped a question this morning. And this is a question I'm sure is on a lot of people's mind, because CJ's been talking a lot about his trading on Ledger X and perhaps, hedging his long stack by looking at some put options in Bitcoin. So Bob posted a comment in chat this morning. CJ answered the question right away in chat, but I wanted to reiterate it here for those of you that aren't yet members or that perhaps didn't see this yet. Bob asked, CJ, my Ledger account is now funded. Do you mind sharing what Bitcoin puts you are buying for your hedge?
Yeah, 30,000 July 30s. And not only, I kind of prefer the August and more towards at the money. It's just that, in the United States, there are not a whole lot of venues yet, especially when you're trading options. So it kind of limits the amount of strategies that you can do when it comes to like bearish put spreads, things of that sort. So just decided to go with puts. Got them yesterday for about $1,000, but I will go ahead and buy another contract or another few contracts here as well as we wrap the show up. We've been talking about kind of a bearish technical formation in Bitcoin with this descending triangle. So if we are to break down here to say below 30s or the 28,000s, then that gives you an ability to sell those options, hopefully in a little bit of profit to add to the overall Bitcoin stack, or maybe even roll down depending on how you think the market's going to go. So that's interesting, and we definitely want to explore a lot of those strategies as the market grows, more liquidity and more volume and open interest comes onto that exchange. So
yeah, thank you for that, CJ. That's definitely a valuable trading strategy. You mentioned, we talked yesterday about a trader that took a big bet on some December Bitcoin calls with a 50K price point. That's something that I've been looking at as well. But in the interim, I do very much like your 35K for August. I think that's a very good conservative play. So I like to hear it, and I like that we're applying some different strategies here as well. Good to see.
There is a 22 2022 $400,000 call or $800. That's a funny one. I like that.
It's tempting.
Maybe Max Kaiser is taking that one. We'll see.
Well, I think that's all we got for today. So we'll be wrapping up here. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. It's Friday. Like John said, crypto never sleeps. The weekends get really exciting. In fact, that's kind of when the room's the busiest, is the weekends, or right after market close, when the traditional equity traders step away from their brokerage accounts and head over to their crypto screens and get trading crypto. So stop on in. If you're not yet a member, you can try it out for just $1 for your first month. The link is right below me at marketrebellion.com/try crypto. We've got a pro charting service 24/7, community of traders from all around the world. We publish actionable trading insights with entries at stop losses, daily news articles, and an ever-growing education curriculum. CJ's been adding some really awesome technical courses. Most recent is the Momentum course. What's going on with that one, CJ?
It's done. We're just waiting on the upload. It might be uploaded today, depending on the tech team. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but they are done. Yeah.
Awesome. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that one. So be on the lookout for that course. Perhaps could drop this weekend as well. But if you need to catch up, head over to the Ops Center and check out the education tab on the left. We have a full curriculum of courses ranging from fundamentals to TA, all included in your crypto membership. So check that out. And as always, thank you to Voyager for sponsoring this show. You can get up to 12% interest on assets like DOT. Pretty ridiculous interest rate, especially now in a relatively flat market. So I'm holding DOT, plan to continue to hold DOT. And yeah, thank you to Voyager for sponsoring this show. Any parting words for our audience as they head into the weekend, guys?
I bought a little Uniswap. And this one's one that I'm a believer. So I just wanted to pick up a little. I thought I already owned it, but I didn't. So I was, I guess, kind of happy to see that I hadn't already owned it, since it's been trending down here to the $15 line or $16 line. But happy to pick some up at that level. So I just did during the show.
Very nice. There you have it, folks. That's John's pick of the day. Uni, we'll be watching that this weekend. But that's all we got for you guys today. Have a great weekend. We will see you again on Monday. Take care.
Thank you.